Since the 1950s, when it was considered that oil was eventually going to run out, thought had been given to electric power. After all, electric cars would be clean, quiet, and superbly suited to the jet age and the space age to come. Never mind that the electricity would have to be created in a smelly, dirty, inefficient power plant, still probably burning oil, but that's another matter. Apart from a few bizarre concept cars, nobody had thought of creating a production electric car. Who would buy them apart from a few green-thinking hippies or people who had very short trips to make? Plus, the concept cars were filled with huge lead-acid batteries, and nobody had thought of a better system to power these cars. But the big car companies were coming under pressure. The environmentally friendly states of America, such as California, were pushing through all sorts of laws about car emissions, and it was clear that if a car company could bring out a green car here, a huge amount of kudos could be gained. And so it was that the car of the future was unveiled by General Motors in the mid-1990s. This was the EV1, General Motors' first totally electric vehicle to be sold as a production model to everyday punters. We've all heard the comedians' gags about the electric car which couldn't go further than the end of the road because that's how long the electric lead was. But range of electric cars is a very important factor. With the EV1, General Motors worked out how far people could expect to drive under certain conditions. For example, if you were going up hills a lot, using the air conditioning on full, plus with the stereo on very loud, you were going to use a lot of juice, which would limit your range. On an average daily of 72-degree highs, with the air conditioning units off, driving on flat roads, the range at about 55 miles an hour would be about 90 miles. So if you were to drive somewhere, say, 46 miles, you'd be kind of worried on the way back. The heart of the EV1 is the power inverter module and the three-phase AC motor. An alternating current motor is much more efficient than a DC one, so when you charge the car from the AC main supply, it gets stored inside as DC. Then, to use the power when you drive the car, it gets converted back to AC to drive the motor. This motor uses reduction gears to bring power to the front wheels. And note, there's no transmission on this car. Actually, there's loads of things you don't have to worry about. After all, an electric car never needs an oil change. It does have a radiator to keep the batteries cool in very hot conditions, but the less parts, the less hassle, in theory. But just think about that dead weight you're lugging along. 26 12-volt lead-acid batteries all connected up. Okay, the batteries are 90% recyclable and there's no battery acid slopping around as the acid is encapsulated in absorbent mats for safety. But the owner of the EV1 would find a very small boot and cramped conditions inside because so much space has had to be found for those pesky but essential batteries. General Motors even had to get rid of the spare tyre and put on self-sealing tyres with pressure monitors connected. These tyres are a good idea, but would make the performance of the car even worse. So, how do you charge up an EV1 car? You simply brought the charging paddle into the front fascia. It uses an interactive system using magnetic fields, a bit like the electric toothbrushes we have. In other words, there are no direct electrical contacts, so it's really safe, particularly in wet weather. When you're at home or at a proper charging station, it uses a big 6.6 kilowatt system which can charge up completely in about 3 hours. However, if you have to use the little onboard portable system which plugs into any electrical outlet, it can take 15 hours to fully charge. 15 hours is a very long time, and if you had to use the little charging system, say when you're staying at a motel in the middle of nowhere, you just wouldn't be fully charged after your sleep. You might be fully recharged, but your EV1 certainly wouldn't be. As you can realise, there are a lot of negatives to the General Motors EV1 car, and this is probably why so few of them have been sold over the last 4 years, when they've been on sale in California and parts of Arizona. The only real positives, apart from helping the environment, is that it is quite a fun experience to drive. Forget the performance, forget the handling, just enjoy the feeling behind the controls as you drive along a car that is like none other. It's almost like flying, playing with the kind of controls and displays you have in front of you. Because the engine's so silent, you even have a special pedestrian alert alarm, the kind of soft horn to tell them you're coming. One gadget that is quite neat is the air conditioning. When the car is connected to a charger, you can set a time so that the air conditioning comes on just before you're about to get into it. A great idea for a very hot day. When you're on the road though, you have to learn a new way to drive. There's a coast down control, which slows you down like you would going into a lower gear on a conventional car. However, it actually turns the electric motor into a generator to recharge the battery. The system automatically kicks in when you put the brake down. So the EV1 was a very brave move for General Motors, who must have lost a fortune on this car, but someone had to do it. If only the technology were available to make electric cars cheaper and more efficient with batteries that were light and small. The reaction from the great American public is that electric vehicles are just too much hassle at the moment. Even if the owners loved the EV1 car, there were apparently too many problems with the public charging stations, which were forever breaking down. What someone needs to invent next is a much more efficient charging unit that works from the mains at home. And Volkswagen have decided to adopt an AC charging system which they claim costs less and performs better. Watch this space.